The first time I made fire appear in my hands, I was screaming. I had just walked into a spider web, the invisible, sticky silk of it catching on my forehead and nose before dropping into my mouth. Of course, I screamed. But then there was fire. Fire so hot the air around me bent like a mirage and blurred everything in sight. It crawled from my hands, up my arms, and it ate away at the long sleeves of my sweater, and I began screaming for an altogether different reason. Then the fire went out, as suddenly as it had come on, and I stood there on the deserted residential street, unmarred arms covered with soot, sleeves and blackened tatters above my elbows, smelling of smoke and still screaming. A man came rushing out of his house. A few people came rushing out of their houses, but only the man approached me, trying to calm me down. Well, more like try to get me to shut up, which I totally get. Some crazy person on your street screaming like they were dying has really got to shake a person's sense of calm, but his snapping voice did not help my rising hysteria one bit. By that time, I was scrabbling across the ground, trying to grasp what was going on. That did not happen. Instead, I blacked out and woke up later in a hospital. They asked me questions about what happened, but I'm a child of the century, and if media has taught me anything at all, it is to keep my mouth shut about stuff like this because I will either 1, be moved to a psychiatric ward, or 2, be taken by the government for testing. I told them I had arachnophobia and got out of there. The second time fire appeared in my hands, I was not screaming. I was in a car with my brother. He shouted in alarm, the wheel jerking wildly in his hand as he stomped on the brakes. The car jerked to a halt, and then jerked again as we were rear-ended by the car behind us. My brother was yelling, but I had months of practice at this point. I would not let the scream that was begging to escape my body meet the air. I grabbed the door handle and yanked it open, gagging at the smell of plastic as it melted beneath my grip. I stumbled onto the street and held my hands away from my body, unwilling to destroy yet another article of clothing. And again, the fire, after some seconds, disappeared. But then my brother was there, patting me down, checking me over. And the woman in the car that hit us was out and shouting at my brother for stopping so suddenly, and then my brother was yelling at her about priorities and fire and tailgating, and I just had to get out of there. So I ran. The third time was in my childhood bedroom. It was Easter and the whole family was winding down from lunch in various rooms of the house. My brother was with me, which was lucky because we had long discussed a strategy if this should ever happen again. He jumped up and grabbed for the hydro flask I always kept with me for such a situation. I held my hands together, clenched into fists, and he poured the room temperature water over my flaming knuckles. The fire didn't go out. Instead, it grew larger, spiking over me like a glowing elemental stalagmite. I stepped away from him and into the center of the room, away from any of the walls. My brother yelped, but I bit my tongue. It took longer this time, but again, it dispersed on its own. The ceiling was scorched like something out of an episode of Supernatural. The fourth time, I was in a public bathroom. The fifth time, I was holding my wallet. I started Googling cures for spontaneous combustion and meditation techniques at that point. I thought seriously about taking a Tai Chi class. My brother calls me Iroh now, no matter how I beg him to stop. The sixth time, I was driving my own car. By some miracle, or more likely, just dumb luck, I survived that. I've been able to remain calm and remain unseen. Up until now. This time, this seventh time, I don't think I can keep the secret any longer.